Welcome to English in a Minute. When you hear this saying, it might make you think about dogs.
Barking up the wrong tree.
Dogs bark. But are these two friends talking about dogs or people?
Did you hear that Sam is trying to get a raise from his supervisor?
Yes, he's barking up the wrong tree. Only the manager can give him a raise.
Barking up the wrong tree means to place attention on the wrong thing. It comes from 19th century America, when people often hunted with dogs. The dogs would hunt animals called raccoons. They could escape up a tree with the dog barking on the ground. But raccoons could also jump to other trees, leaving the dog to bark up the wrong tree. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. Here's a phrase that is not praise.
Backseat driver.
Listen to these two people talk about driving.
Adam's mother made him so nervous every time he took her to the store.
You're not kidding. She would tell him where to turn, how fast to go, and which road to take. She was such a backseat driver.
Where does this phrase come from? When cars were first invented, rich owners would often ride in the back seat. They would tell their drivers where to go and how to drive. Now, when someone is a backseat driver, he is interfering, and it's considered to be bad behavior. And that's English in a Minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Do you find American idioms hard to understand? It's our goal to make learning them a piece of cake. Everyone in America knows this idiom because it's so easy.
Hey, how did you do on that exam? I got an A. The exam was a piece of cake.
In American English, when you say something is a piece of cake, it means it is very easy to do. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, African Americans started cakewalks. They walked or danced around a cake in pairs, and the best couple won the cake. This is how the idioms cakewalk and piece of cake came about, both meaning that something is very easy to do. And that's English in a Minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute. If you have heard American English, maybe you have heard this phrase.
Apple of one's eye.
Apples and eyes. It has to do with love. Listen.
Jack is a great dad. He's so attached to his daughter, he would do anything for her.
Wow, you're right about that. She sure is the apple of his eye.
Apple of his eye means a person or thing is precious or loved deeply. The center of one's eye, the pupil, is dark and round. This phrase comes from long ago when people believed that the eye's pupil was solid and shaped like an apple. And of course, the pupil was precious because you can't see without it. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. If you have heard American English, maybe you've heard this phrase.
Burned out.
Does this mean something was on fire and is now out? Or maybe it means totally tired. See if you can tell. Listen.
Sarah got so burned out, spending so much time volunteering at the hospital.
She's really going to need a vacation.
Totally.
Burned out means you are very tired. It means you have lost interest in something. That is because you have done too much of the same thing. It is like a light bulb that has stopped shining because all of its energy is used up inside. Now it's your turn to think of ways to use burned out. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. When people are bluffing, are they telling the truth? Let's listen.
Call someone's bluff.
Oh yeah, I have the winning hand right here.
I don't believe you. I'm calling your bluff.
Okay, you're right. I only have low cards. I was bluffing, you win.
Calling someone's bluff comes from poker, a card game. A player who is bluffing pretends to have the winning cards when he really does not. Calling someone's bluff means you want a person to tell the truth about something. People bluff about serious and not so serious things. So the next time, you can call their bluff. And that's English in a Minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute, where we teach you about idioms in American English. Making decisions is important, and it can be difficult. When you ask people to decide something, you might hear them say,
It's up to you.
To find out what this one means, let's listen to this conversation.
What do you want for dinner tonight? I'm not sure. What do you want? It's up to you. Whatever you want, we will have.
When you say it's up to you, it's another way to say that you want the other person to choose. That might be because you can't decide, or you are being nice and letting someone else choose.
It's up to you.
And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. If you have ever heard American English, you probably have heard this saying. Hey man, just go with the flow. This is a fun expression that can be used in many ways. Let's listen to this idiom in an actual conversation.
Should we stop and grab something to eat before we get to the movie theater, or do you just want to grab something at the movies? What do you think?
I like to go with the flow. Whatever you decide is cool with me.
This phrase makes you think of watching water. When you go with the flow, you swim in the direction that the water's moving. It's easy. In the same way, a person who goes with the flow easily fits into a given situation. Plus, it rhymes. Go, flow. Sounds nice. And that's English in a Minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute. If you listen to American English, you might hear this phrase.
Fair weather friend.
What do weather and friends have to do with each other? Listen and find out.
Bill sure was friendly when he needed our help moving to his new house. But since we asked him to help us move, we can't reach him.
I have always thought he was a fair weather friend. He is only a friend when he needs something. You can't count on him.
Fair weather is good weather. A person who is a fair weather friend is loyal in good times, but not when things get difficult. So if you are in trouble or facing tough times, a fair weather friend probably won't stick by your side. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. If you have trouble with a friend or coworker, maybe you should do this.
Clear the air.
I'm afraid I must have done something to hurt Mary's feelings. She has been so unfriendly recently to me. I told her I wanted to clear the air, but she turned and walked away from me.
At my office, there have been so many rumors, the boss called a meeting to clear the air.
Clear the air. This idiom comes from the fact that when there is smoke or fog in the air, it is difficult to see. Sometimes when people are angry or dislike someone, they hide the reasons for those feelings. Clearing the air means that they bring those issues out in the open to work through them. This can apply to both personal and work situations. And that's English in a minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Have you heard the phrase, get on my nerves? What does it mean in American English? Let's find out.
It really irritates me when a person's cell phone goes off during a movie.
Yeah, me too. It really gets on my nerves.
The human nervous system is a collection of the nerves in our bodies that helps us feel things. When something affects those nerves in a bad way, we can feel strange or troubled. When that happens in a non-physical way, we can say it gets on our nerves. Someone else's actions or words can get on your nerves if they do it over and over, and you want them to stop. And that's English in a Minute.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Have you heard this phrase in American English?
As the crow flies.
What do these people mean when they say, as the crow flies? Let's listen.
I am going to check my GPS, but first, can you tell me how far the airport is from here? I think it's about 20 miles.
The airport isn't very far, as the crow flies, but you can't get there directly. You have to drive around the mountains. It's about 40 miles by car.
A crow is a big black bird. As the crow flies describes the distance between two places as a bird or an airplane might fly. It does not include the turns in a road, going around mountains, or bodies of water. Now you can use as the crow flies in a conversation. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. Have you heard this phrase in American English?
As the crow flies.
What do these people mean when they say, as the crow flies? Let's listen.
I am going to check my GPS, but first, can you tell me how far the airport is from here? I think it's about 20 miles.
The airport isn't very far, as the crow flies, but you can't get there directly. You have to drive around the mountains. It's about 40 miles by car.
A crow is a big black bird. As the crow flies describes the distance between two places as a bird or an airplane might fly. It does not include the turns in a road, going around mountains, or bodies of water. Now you can use as the crow flies in a conversation. And that's English in a Minute.